It's like something's pretty shaken. So, how much is it? No. Sign says free.
No, you have always had incredible handsome gravitas, and you've just gotten more. So I can
Because Lisa.
Carla, where do you live now? I live on the 3rd. Oh, just like 3 blocks away from here. Gotcha.
And I made this, and I made this, and I made this. And
Waiting, David.
friend MaryAlice's husband made the pin.
You all are too polite.
Try to.
Some people saw that they're like,
There's no perfect. Some of the music.
she also stuff that I thought she thinks weird. I was like, oh man, it was like 3rd. Yeah. I don't know where I heard it. It's hard.
That's for me, right? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I want to welcome all of you to Akua Lezli Hope's book launch for Them Gone. And I think we all know Akua, so I want to just make sure everyone knows MaryAlice Little, her accompanying harpist and dear friend. And I think at this point I'll just turn over the microphone to Akua, who we are all here because we love her dearly and love her poetry as dearly.
Thank you. I don't want to hold it though, so
Okay.
I'm going to do a little fiddling for a moment. And then I don't know if I can get it low enough. Oh, if I do it like that. Oh, can I lower this? I'm pretty loud anyway, but
Oh my goodness, really?
That was good.
right. But the mic enables you to be soft though. So when right, so I don't always have to. And since I've been screaming with joy, just screaming with joy. I mean, let me begin by thanking the Arts Council of the Southern Finger Lakes for hosting this event, and especially my neighbor, friend, and the head of the Arts Council, the director, Dr. Oh my gosh, because I knew her before she became a doctor, so it delights me to say doctor for those people who have done that academic struggle. Dr. Constance Sullivan Bloom, thank you very much. And I said it before I began, but I mean, I always begin readings with what I call a libation, and I had talked to MaryAlice about this, and I didn't want to do it that way, but I want to begin by thanking all of you for being here, because virtually every person here has contributed to my well-being, contributed to my survival. When I met the cataclysm that broke my body, you ensured that my spirit survived. And so thank you all, thank you all. Thank you to all of my gone, all of my beloved departed, who also worked to enable me to thrive and survive. Oh, do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Oh, do you know the Muffin Man who lived on Drury Lane? Ring around the rosies, pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes. Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush.
In the morning.
Skip, skip, skip to my loo, skip, skip,
Skip to my loo, skip, skip, skip to my loo, skip to my loo, my darling.
peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. 369, the goose drank wine, the monkey chewed tobacco on the streetcar line, the line broke, the monkey got choked, and they all went to heaven in a little rowboat. Rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. Brown, brown, go downtown with your breeches hanging down. A sailor went to sea to see what he could see, but all that he could see was the bottom of the deep blue sea. No, I won't go to Macy's anymore, more. There's a big fat policeman at the door. He'll take you by the collar and make you pay $1, so I won't go to Macy's anymore, more.
Oh, no.
Here we go, loop-de-loo. Here we go, loop-de-lie. Here we go, loop-de-loo.
On a Saturday night.
Miss Susie had a steamboat. The steamboat had a bell. Miss Susie went to heaven. The steamboat went to hello, operator. I'm caller number 9. And if you disconnect me, I'll chop up your beat. Eeny, meeny, Cicilline, Bellini, Achi, Liberace, out goes Y-O-U. Miss Mary Mac, gold dressed in black, with silver buttons all down her back. The spades go to heart together, twilight forever. Bring back my love to me. What is the meaning of all these flowers? They tell the story of two hearts together, twilight forever. Bring back my love to me. Cha-cha-cha. 950 Hoe Avenue, the Bronx. The child does not love this place. It is skin, it is light, it is her bubble bath, her curtains lifting, her yellow records on her record player. Let us give 3 cheers for Gaston and Josephine. I'll be a sunbeam for Jesus. Her stack of golden books, her room next to her parents, the long list for God to bless each night, her forbidden shortcut through the alley to school, her treasured malteds at the fountain with Daddy, with an egg for help, and special Sundays on the boulevard with Mommy. She loves them, but not this place. This 5 flights up, these French doors, the first to conquer living space, Castro sofa pull-out bed, where nights of blue glow heaven, she waits with Mommy, watching old myths. Flynn, Fontaine, Niven, de Havilland for Daddy. She does not love the fire escape where she can glimpse other people's lives, where summer brings baratata musics, where her parents heard John Cage's 777 misplayed, and Makiba's clicks and trills shaped that age. Nor does she love her friends, black, blonde, brown, beige, where she met yogurt, Hamantashen, tortillas, grits. It took forever to learn to fight, fit, roller skate. Concrete claimed her knees. She has blooded this place. For her, there was no before. She has not come to after. She does not hold these memories. The adult she becomes summons the ghosts, holds the after, loves, loves, loves that non-existent place. 950 Hoe Avenue, the Bronx. Seneca. The first time your visiting nephew rode Captain Bill's narrative boat, he was afraid. Though the dark, polished wood interior, solid brown, comforting with flowered seat cushions, was bright as a Sunday parlor. Sunshine on boat's wake made waves, teeth, and knives. You know how to swim. Yellow-orange candy-colored lifesavers overhead. Nothing bad will happen to you, but it already had. Skinny adolescent narrator pauses. Captain details where those before walked. Asaniki, stony place of people whose path is that faint, narrow rock ledge, descending, disappearing into gray, shattering shore wall. Salt mines across this deepest Finger Lake. Another mysterious steaming of stuff from below. All this strangeness and feeling yourself a small, small thing on a big indifference. Seneca. Even though you have religion, you worship with me. Words and words, this world to save. My Jesus body is broken. An unrisen cripple rolls toward you, hoping to wield smart weapons. Heal the inattention to essentials, reality. I too craved cutting purses to carry petty aesthetics of fashion's fleeting moment, ignored burdens to be borne, to be laid down, or left as tips in diners, spent petals scattered on petroleum shining seas. I too drank wild rivers, fractured sensory meaning into chemical transcendences, blooming trees in Bronx, Harlem, Brooklyn, wherever concrete cracked. Bent by loss, smacked by grief upon too soon gone grief. Legion of my superheroes thinned to we few, bent shoulder to shoulder, murmuring prayers and half-remembered incantations, tracing song lines through steel canyons, huddled around an ash can, fire roasting yams against the cold. Feed our dreaming multitude. I wasn't saying things about the poems, but the book has a few poems to which I stick to strict form. So for the poets out there, this is one of those formal poems in the book, in that it attaches itself to a form. And it's a Villanelle. And the one other thing I thought to say to people is that I was the youngest member of the American Society of Psychic Research back in the 60s. And so when you hear the poem, that may illuminate some bits of it for you. I didn't tell you that one. No, I know, I said, let me say this. It's called Rebirth. She won't remember, but we older siblings do, how she blew all our minds with past life stories that she told Daddy while we were in school. Daddy worked nights, was her daycare, and knew how to brush hair, cajole, and entertain his babies. She won't remember, but we older siblings do. Certain old French songs made her cry, others made her coo. Some reminded of misfortunes, others recalled great deeds. This she told Daddy while we were in school. There was no way she could know such things, so it had to be true. She still saw and would regale us with past glories. She won't remember, but we older siblings do. She said the Big Bang was how the universe grew. Someone named Donna, some street life tragedy that she told Daddy while we were in school. Her baby self would dance an ancient hoochie coo, an adult and piercing wisdom when she was only 3. She won't remember, but we older siblings do what she told Daddy while we were in school. Rebirth.
Ooh.
Now it's your turn. My mother told me that you can always find knowledge in books. My father said to always marry common sense with book knowledge. My mother told me that you are the only one that will stop you. My mother told me that all the girls were after my father, but she was the one. My father told me that I was his determined daughter. My father told me not to marry my husband. My mother told me, put your sweater on, it's cold out. My father told me, you can get a lot done in this world if you don't care who gets credit for it. My mother told me that this too shall pass. My father told me to follow your dreams. My mother said, if you're feeling depressed, do something for someone else. My father told me, if you fall down and scrape your knee, it's okay to cry. Oh, this gets me. Just keep walking. My mother told me, stupid, 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 get an education. My father told me that good is to be seen in the natural world. My mother said she forgives me for getting hurt a lot as a child. My father told me that I am a good guy, treat women right, and if I didn't, he would kick my butt. My mother told me, don't be ashamed to ask for what you need. My father told me, I love you. My mother told me to clean my room, eat all my veggies, and be nice to my girlfriend, now my wife. My father told me that I can finally go to school and do what you love. My mother told me when I was vacuuming to keep the vacuum constantly moving or it'd burn a hole in the rug. My father told me that I was a lot like him and didn't show my true feelings. My mother told me that you must be gracious to family and, I believe, this is friends. My mother said that Lake Ontario was not a patch on the ocean where the water was salty and the waves were tall as horses. My dad told me that chocolate milk came from brown cows. My mother told me, think about the other person. Always make sure your underwear are clean. Oh, my mommy said, I think it was mommy, be good. My mother told me the story of Noah's Ark. My father said, let's go for a ride. My mother told me, be kind to others, respect and love women. You can achieve whatever you put your mind to. My father said, you're as old as you feel. Take care of your mom when I'm gone. Don't take things so seriously. My mother told me, love you more. My father said, you can run as fast as those boys. My mother told me to make sure I married someone as smart as me or I'd be bored. My father told me no one smelled as good as my mother. My mother said, I love you. Mind your P's and Q's. My father said, God bless the child that's got his own. Oh, I like this one though. Lie low and catch the meddler.
Whoa.
My mother told me not enough about the real world. Maybe she thought I'd learn soon enough. My mom said, are you going to get pregnant in high school like your sister did? Dad said I was his little chickadee. My mother told me I trust people too much. My father said that you get one chance in life to get it right. I like this, but I hope I get it right, so forgive me if I don't. How does your my father said, how does your diabolical system associate with your moral systematicals? I hope I got that right. My mother said I don't have any sense of humor. My mother said she loves me. She hates me. And less than 7 hours of whining, signing, complaining about every goddamn concern in front of her. My father told me, shut up, get your head out of your ass. My mother told me, only you can make yourself happy. My father told me, I'm better off without him. My mother told me, the most effective form of discipline is distraction. My mother told me that you will always find knowledge in books. My father said to always marry common sense with book knowledge. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. a word or two. No, you could, but I'm going to say a word or two. When I bought my house in Corning, I saw no flowers. There were no flowers in visual distance of my house. I like to think I changed the neighborhood. People would come and watch me work on my yard like it was a totally alien thing. And I was told crazy, wacky, horrible, bad advice, like my apple tree, which yielded my second year there, 400 pounds that I gave to the food bank of the southern tier, was a crab apple tree. It's not. I was told to put detergent around my roses. So that's some background for this next poem called Soil. Thank you, MaryAlice. Soil. Don't they know? Those not born to it love it more, cherish it like converts to a foreign faith, hold its wisdom precious for its lack. It's not in the speech around us, so we study its language with rigor. My grandparents kept it in many pots, crowding windows. My parents acquired it so that I could, earlier than they, later than my sapling siblings, have some to dream on. I wanted to be farmer before I was to be oceanographer, metal lawyer, mother. The short corn was taller than preteen me. Alien kohlrabi, bush beans, tomatoes, celebrated as miracle by apartment-reared parents who praised my scrawny crops. Tell the gawking this as they watch me tend my garden. Tell them black folks tilled much soil. Even as we left it, we hid seeds in cheek pockets, saved core of alligator pears, and guarded the eyes of tubers. We carried it even as we fled it. Tell them I grew up with radiator arboretums, mayonnaise jar composts of eggshell water and spent coffee grounds, steam, heat, hothouses, fire escape forests, and tenement window hillsides, avocado trees singing tropical songs above the guttered snow. Tell them I don't need their bad advice, I know. Thank you. Fruit stand. Just plucked plums, fragrant memories of Half Moon Bay, new gray house near ocean, fruit stand on sand-brushed lane, San Gregorio, an arid place with lots of water, past sunflowers and pumpkins out of New York's season, along the narrow winding byway from Belmont to the sea. Here on River Road, where tiny city melts to country, on the left when leaving, on the right when coming home, a cracked wood sign calls, stop and eat. Fresh from the flat land you drive by. When Daddy defended the apples his father sold in another century, by concrete, below tall buildings, he recalls in his dimming brightness the fruit stand, a place for earth, unaltered products to be purchased, protected, stolen, desired, gathered there to be gotten, to be eaten, to be fed. We go away to see what waits around the corner and down the block. Shepherds, covered fleece in painted post, beekeepers, fresh honey in Watkins Glen, glorious garlic grown by postman farmer, spear squash from many gardens, the plain heart tug of handwritten signs to slow down, stop, and savor delight on our own slender roads. MaryAlice is wonderful. Let's please Yep. Dancing on Daddy's feet. He was our brown Fred Astaire, thin, dashing, fleet-footed hero, time-stepping, sand-shuffling, tapping, twirling, doing that click-toe touch up our stairs. Elegant line from head to finger, or shoulder-winged back, architected moves, lindying, shimmying, hip-swung glides, watching our grooves, showing precedent slides. He taught us buck and bubbles, think through troubles. Nicholas Brothers, heed your family and not others. Bill, Bojangles, Robinson, though they steal your song, sing on. Saved all his deft skill for us. Daddy could dance so many ways. He would lend me his grace, let me place small, flat feet on his, and holding my hands, smiling, would show me where to step, as if I could ever learn to do it backwards and in heels, as if I could ever learn his strength. Thank you. So I don't know if I said this, that I think I said it informally. Formally, I picked a poem or two from each section of the book. So now we're near the end. These are the last two, and I believe they're both in the last section. And thank you again to 171 Cedar Art Center, at which I have studied voice, studied saxophone, done workshops, given workshops in poetry, given workshops in paper making, and 171, when at the time under the directorship of Lois Welk, they were the organizing source that helped me avert homelessness by gathering the community of artists here and raising funds for me when I was suddenly and cataclysmically paralyzed. So this next poem takes place in the building next to us. I heard someone was lost, and it's still part of the complex. So this takes place in the building next to us, and it's called Recital. Afterward, each audience gathers to their star. My parents come close, my sister smiles, hugs me. My mother's large lamp eyes shine. Each globe beams. My father harumphs. We drift down the narrow hall. My teacher waits, leans forward for introductions. As others mill around the deconstructed ballroom, noises of relief, congratulations rise in happy frenzy. Silk purse from Sal's ear, father tells her. Nonsense, teacher smiles. Mother kisses me. We float slowly down wide, carpeted stairs. I clutch cool, curving banister for balance. Green song rustles outside. Ahead, doors flung wide. Birds celebrate late spring afternoon. Sweet, sweet calls. America is not at war with anyone overtly. Across Chemung River, Fallbrook manufactures television glass. Pressware presses pyro ceram dishes and pots for tomorrow's kitchens. Hope heard arias she sang to me as a child. And here's our last poem. In the book, there are poems about the immigrant experience. Depending on how you count, I'm a second or third generation American. And all four of my grandparents fled British colonial rule. They came from Montserrat and Jamaica. And I say that only as preface to saying, it's really weird that my parents and I are such Anglophiles, considering that their parents and my grandparents were like, we're getting away from the Brits. We shared a love of BBC detective shows, so that's referenced in this. My mother and I particularly liked As Time Goes By and Chef, but you name it, from Morse to Frost. I wish they were here to see Endeavor with me. I forget if any of you follow that, but just love British drama. And that's not even the point of the poem, but just so, just so you know. This is called Resurrections, and it ends the collection. They are a happy couple, comfortable in their knowledge of each other. Relaxed bodies, smiles, conversation, a gentle teasing of the detective who still doesn't guess his wife's motives or his daughter's, but knows their hearts better than any others and worries overall between cases, strives to be good for which they tease him when he fails. Makes me cry as any good fiction resurrects you. Even the ones you wouldn't like, but would watch with mommy and tell me you sussed it out before the end, saw it coming even as you sat still for our rough ministrations. As we braided your balding ring, examined your thick nails, pinched, poked, and tickled you. You made her endless cups of tea that got cold. You confessed that you weren't Superman. I cast you in that role anyway. What returns is the love. When the stone rolls away, what flutters forth is love. Why they wept was not just for his tortures, but the loss of his presence, the scent of his sweat, his striving and kindness, his generosity, his huge heart, the warmth of his strong, large hands holding theirs, for the love they were left to carry forth in the world alone. Thank you, MaryAlice. My wonderful.
Will you take Q&A?
Oh, that's an idea. All right. If you
Questions?
wanna. Yes, all right. Sure.
Tell us a little bit about your first book.
Embouchure,
Yes.
poems on jazz and other musics, and it has a picture of a saxophone on it, and it's focused on music. I'm a music fanatic, and I happen to come up in, I guess, what now seems the glory age of education when they gave you music lessons. I mean, I started in 3rd grade, we learned the recorder. In 4th grade, at PS 156, where I met Liz, right? I started violin lessons because New York City Public School would make that available to you after school, and you could rent a violin for just $1. So I started with violin. Then in junior high school, I started thinking about art, but I kept singing. And in high school, I went to a special high school in New York City. It was Queens Music and Art, called Andrew Jackson High School. And that's all just preface to say music has been formally in my life. I studied the cello, the bassoon, the violin. I own like 2 saxophones and have a piano, and took music theory. And so I needed to honor that. I needed to honor that not only because of my engagement, but you know, at the time, jazz was my religion, and that's kind of what Embouchure is about. So thanks for asking. And it won the Writer's Digest Book Award for the year that it came out, which was a nice thing.
And it is available?
Yeah.
It's available on Amazon, as will additional copies of Them Gone. This is now called a preview, although I thought it was going to be so on Amazon it says it's available on June 1st. So you're all way ahead of the pack, everybody. You've got to go.
And it will be available in town at
And it will
card
be
carrying as
available
well.
in town as well.
But it's a good embouchure in town too, at card carrying books.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Do that.
Yes, Frank.
What period do these poems represent? Are they way back?
This is great because it's all over. And not to get too morbid or terribly sad, well, I'm saying that to me, you all won't, but, and I could assess it because in the section where it's more like poem, and I didn't read one of those kind of poems, one of those, you know, honoring the dead. There's a section that's particularly about honoring the dead that I did not read any work from because I just didn't want to start crying. So when I looked at that, though, I had a friend who died in May, and the poem's in there, and then a friend who died 2 years ago. I mean, so it's a terrible way to date it, but it's as recent as a very recent death. But the oldest poem in there, which I had to include because it's about my mother, but that, and it's called My Mother is an Indictment, if you ever see that one. That poem is a good 30 years old. So it goes from 30 years old to 6 months old. And I discussed this with the editor and said, maybe that 6-month-old poem shouldn't be in there because the 30-year poems I've got to look at it and edit and fix, and you know, they have 30 years worth of polishing on them versus, you know, 6 months. So it's all over. Thank you for asking. Yeah, Ernie.
Why the questions on the questionnaire?
Why the questions on the question?
Why the
Why the
question?
questionnaire poem? Or
Mommy
My
said,
mommy
Daddy said.
said.
Wait, why?
Why?
A deep why? Because I always try and think of a way to connect the audience to creating. So we all created an experience together. It's not, if I had another 15 minutes, it might have even been reached the level of a poem versus just a recitation. But I like to, every time I do a reading, try to think of some way to have you join in the experience also. So that's why. Neva.
When did you decide you were a poet? I mean.
Thank you. No one's ever asked me that. When I was 5.
Wow.
And I did not have a middle name. And my mother and father had everyone I knew had multiple names, you know? But you've got a combo first, so that kind of helps, MaryAlice. But I didn't have a middle name, and I asked them why. And they said, so you could choose your own name. And I said immediately, well, I want to be Hope, because my father's middle name is his mother's maiden name, and where they're from, Montserrat, they're matrilineal, and he would have only been known as Albert Howe versus Albert Howe White. So, and he had told me this, and mimicking that, I took my mother's name as my middle name, and that's why I'm Lezli Hope, and then my nom de plume, as most of you know me, it's Akua Lezli Hope. So I was mimicking their tradition, and they invited me to name myself. The one thing wrong with the past in terms of education, though, or I won't say wrong, but different, I did not read and write early. So, family lore, I dictated my first poems to my mother till I learned how to write them myself. And I started right after I chose my name. So all my life.
Right.
Well, my father lived in a building with County Cullen. So those of you who know black poets, he's at, yeah, and County Cullen was my father's junior high school teacher. So the idea of writing and creating, I know a lot of people have to come to it on their own, but I did not. It was part of the air I breathed and the life I lived and my parents and grandparents. Thank you for asking me. Hi, I don't know you, but hi.
Hi,
Lady in blue.
Tara.
Hi, Tara.
Did you make the yellow things that you're wearing?
Thank you for asking. So, poison into medicine. Because before I became paralyzed, I was really into glass and paper, and I was making things bigger and bigger and bigger. And when I became paralyzed, I didn't know what to do in terms of my art making. And so I turned to crochet. I have a couple of looms, and I couldn't use my looms. And so I think this is one of the penultimate. I fell in love with what's called free-form crochet, so I made everything I'm wearing. I designed my hat especially for the event. These are birds. I think they read a little abstract, but if you come closer, you'll see that they have little beaks and shapes, and the sleeves are abstracted wings. And I made the shoes for the event.
Can I ask
So
why?
thank you.
Why yellow?
Because it looks okay in wool. Like yellow reads well in wool, and I knew it was going to be cold, but I wanted to be springy and sunshiny. So thank you. Thank you.
Would you tell them the story you told me the other day that when you did something at school and what your father said? It relates to what you were just saying. Do you remember what story I'm talking
No,
about?
because
Hanging in it. Yes.
Oh no!
No. Well, you can just, I'll make it short story.
yeah,
She said she did something at school that the principal, I believe, lived down the street and came to her house and said something to her father. You can take it from there.
Oh gosh, I hope okay. High school. We hung and burnt the vice principal in effigy. And he lived right around the corner from me in the dead end. And so he came to my house as if to reveal this horror about me and his concern, because I was a great student, but look at who she's running with, look at what she's doing. And my brother and I are hiding around the corner because I'm like, oh man, we called him Crouch, but his name was Couch. So, or Crotch, we did all these terms. So we're hiding, oh my God, look who's there. And so he says to my father, like, do you know what she's doing? And blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, we taught her to think. And I never loved my father more than that moment. Because I didn't know how he was going to react. But, he stood up to, we taught her to think. So, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't see the
Last
lights.
one there. Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Are you working on any other genres? I'm thinking memoir, creative nonfiction.
Thank you, wonderful Arthur Flowers, who organized New York with me, the New Renaissance Writers Guild. He's an incredible novelist of his own, in his own inimitable right. And he came from Syracuse, so a beloved friend of many years. And he's the one who said memoir, and no, I haven't. But I do short story. Okay, so I have another genre that I love, which is science fiction, and I've had my science fiction poetry published, as well as my science fiction prose. And I'm in the first anthology of Black science fiction, by the way, which makes me inordinately proud. I mean, not just to pride, because you don't always know if you're going to get there, and I'm just delighted that it came. So my short stories, I mean, you're the master of the long form. I've tried it. Every time they have that November, write your novel in a month, I've tried it. I've tried long form. And memoir, I'm still leaving it mainly in the poems to carry the story. I haven't done that in a prose version. Thank you, Arthur. I didn't see you, but thank you. I still can't quite see where he is. Oh, I see glasses. That's all I can do, because the lights are right in my eyes.
So I just want to thank everybody, and I want to thank Akua
Thank
and
you.
MaryAlice.
And we're not over, but this
No.
is so we can, now we mill around for the next 40 minutes.
And Akua will be signing books, so come on up either to see her, or if there's a table for her to, if you want to meet at something. So
Thank you all. Yep. Yes, sir. Was it big? Oh, right. Just like